What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to GmiasWorld. Today we're going to be talking about lockdown and, what's real, what isn't. Are these boosts actually doing anything for your players? It is a very, very unique situation because a lot of you guys already know if you have a certain type of threshold, the players are going to play a certain way. So I've gone over that whole situation, like, 85 to 89, 90 to 95. Like, it's certain things that go on within that threshold of, lockdown of man coverage, zone, and things of that nature, and what actually works. So the biggest thing about it is it's the visibility of it. If we're being honest, we right now with lockdown chemistry, we're at 40 or 50, right? So we get +4 man coverage, we get +4 zone coverage, +4 play rec, 4 catch, 4 press, 4 tackling, right? So does it actually do anything? It actually depends on who the player is. For those of you guys that are wondering, like, does it work on your middle linebackers? Do the guys actually play it? Is it worth it for everybody to have it? Should I spend the training? This is very, very specific, right? Deion Sanders, let's go ahead and just take a look at some of the things that's going on, because these archetypes that you're going to be taking a look at, Namdi, these players, it's very, very unique, the way these players play, right? So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what makes these guys different. Let's go ahead and take a look at Namdi really quickly. He's a man-to-man corner. Zone coverage, like, kind of disgusting. Man coverage is a 96, right? That's boosted. That's the final tier. 95 to 99 should be, they probably play the same. More than likely, based on the information that we've seen and what has been done with the dissecting of the game, that's final tier with Namdi. Everybody that has Namdi on their team right now is laughing hysterically because this dude has got routed out of his mind. Now, does that mean that it doesn't work? No. It just means that your opponent knows something that you probably don't. You're probably getting beat off of motion. You're probably playing a lot of these psychopaths that run around and they just start motioning everybody, and then it offsets who's actually covering who, and then you end up with the wrong guy on whatever and you're out of position. A lot of that also has to do with the actual gameplay, because the players are actually delayed when it's motioned to following the player. So sometimes you get like a free release. All of that has something to do with it. But does that make it so that this doesn't mean anything? I would say no, because he actually, with that 95 press, he gets a decent press, but in certain cases, it'll be an automatic win depending on the wide receiver if the person is just on a streak. It's random. The game does that intentionally so that you feel the need to go buy more packs. That's pretty much what goes on. So I really wanted to focus on this because the boost that we're getting across the board right here, in certain cases it does matter, but in a lot of cases it doesn't. Is it better to have a player with that type of man coverage? Yes. That is why I rage sold Taylor Mays. I told you guys, in my defense, when I come out and I know that I have a safety that has a man coverage that was boosted to 84, he's not going to play the same way a guy that's boosted to 96 is going to play, obviously. Or a guy that's boosted to 88. I'm going to go to my lower level cornerbacks like the Rod Woodsons, Dre Bly's, and you're going to see why I kept them. Now, listen, I hate Dre Bly, and I think a lot of you guys agree he's the weakest link on the 49er theme team right now, but he has that threshold, and in some games, he'll show up. A lot of games he does not. So these boosts right here, it does add to, what you're trying to do. But if you're not already at a certain threshold, it doesn't really matter. For instance, like what I said before, when I rage so told Taylor Mays, a lot of you guys raged at me. Then you were like, yo, this guy sucks. I had him in man coverage. He got burnt deep. Yes, because he's a safety and he doesn't have that concept. We can argue that Jamal Adams and, Micah Hyde with higher man coverage as safeties could play it better. But I just think it's a safer situation. Just safer to have an actual corner on the field. I play with 6 cornerbacks on the field all the time, 4-6 speed package, and no matter what you're doing, you got to make a read. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to make a play because these guys all have decent coverage. Now, look, when you come out in tight or, trips tight end, trips flex, stuff like that, now it takes adjusting. So you're going to need, like, players that have a decent amount of zone and man coverage, which is where lockdown comes into play. The way that this works, let me just go ahead and break it down. If you have a corner like a Deion Sanders that can pretty much attack both sides because he has a 95 and a 96 zone, he won't hurt you when you have to adjust and run a cover 3 because a guy's running crosses like an animal that just escaped the zoo and he won't stop doing it. This is going to be a very, very unique card, which is why his price is probably going to stay around where it is right now because he's endgame for both of those attributes. Okay, 96 and 95, he's at the final tier. that zone coverage, like I said, I don't think it's going to make a difference if he's 99, because right now I have 99 play rec on Sam Mills, and he runs around like an idiot in some cases. So the 99 is not guaranteed to do anything. But this right here, LockDown does this. So would I recommend LockDown? Absolutely. Will you see a difference? Absolutely. But remember, these cards are already decent. Now look, we're going to go to a lower level card, and I'm going to explain to you guys, specifically what's going on with that. When we look at Rod Woodson, who I have him right now as a hybrid over, because he played strong safety. He gets that extra, ability, that fourth ability slot to be able to do that with the secondary position. So that's why you see his chem still work, because they have him at strong safety. When you look at his numbers, right, 92 man, 90 zone. It looks like very, very subtle, but he's at the threshold for both with that 90. Anything below that, it's still between the 85 and the 80, 85, 90 threshold. You got to be careful with it because you don't really know how it's working out. But when you get to 90, 90 is like a decent area where you're one step away from the final threshold. He's very subtly a guy that comes up big very, very, regularly because he's right there. Anything underneath that, you're going to have some issues. So does the LockDown make a difference? Yes, because if you have a decent corner and you can get them over that hump just a little, it actually works out a lot better for your squad. And he's going to play better because he meets that threshold. So this is similar to the way that the speed is. Like when I tell you that certain things just don't matter, like if I told you right now that play rec mattered, you would laugh at me. You would say, bro, they throw the ball right in front of my guys and they just stand there. And I would say, yeah, they come out and they run QB draw and my entire team has high play rec and they just stand there and watch it. I would say yes. The game doesn't have everything that works specifically the way it should, but when it comes to playing coverage, you will see a difference. Now, I brought up Sam Mills and his 99s and stuff like that, so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about to give you a visualization of what's going on. He has a 99 play rec, right? He has a 99 tackle. The only reason that he does not get broken tackles anymore is because I gave him that ability of Stonewall. When he had 99 tackle, he was still getting trucked and dudes were breaking tackles. He was doing whatever he want, which makes you guys, I want you guys to understand it. You have to make sure that you have abilities on your players that are key and integral in part of you winning games. Because if I don't put that ability on him, he's still like dudes are just breaking every tackle. So EA is showing you a couple things. Do some of these chems and these boosts matter? Yes, they do. But is it that important to where it's going to make sure that everything is locked up? No, that is incorrect. And then also, he has a 93 zone coverage. He will just stand there at that tier and not play any zone coverage. So I understand that he's a middle linebacker, and EA Sports don't like middle linebackers, so they can't jump for picks. They can't do anything. They're just there. And you have to know that that's part of what's going on. I need to make sure that you know that. So he's very, very good in the run game. All right. That high block shed, all that stuff, 90 hit power. Great, great, great. But LockDown for him is not going to mean the same thing as your secondary players. Going to boost them, but it's not going to mean the same thing as your other secondary players that, we're going over right now. So if you're running a 49er theme team, a Ravens theme team, Raiders, whatever, when you get these players to that 90 is where you should be. So it definitely 100% influences the way the player actually plays. Now, this guy is very, very interesting because you can see he meets the threshold for the man coverage, but he's always getting burnt in man coverage. So you have to understand and be able to assess like, yo, why do I hate this guy so much? I don't know. I hate him in the game, but he meets the threshold for one. Now, he's a lower level tier for the zone. So I have to be careful when I put him in zone coverage because if the player maneuvers a certain way, he's not going to be able to stay with that player. He has no idea what he's doing. And he sucks. But that's not what this is about. What it's about is the fact that we still have to make certain things happen. Okay, we still have to be able to say, you know what? This is where it's at. This is how we're going to do it. And this is the way that we're going to put together the team. So LockDown for me is definitely right now one of the top tier things to use because you can pretty much have a whole secondary of different thresholds that will take away everything that your opponent wants to do. And then you pretty much just have to use her and figure out what they want to do everywhere else. For instance, he's not going to more than likely run step for step with the drag route, but he'll cover a post route or a double move upfield because he has that tier of man coverage to do that. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different things that come into play when you start to utilize lockdown. And I think at this time, it's probably one of the more important schemes in the game, which is why I use it. Because if I don't use it, it's a reason for that, right? Either I haven't gotten to it yet or it sucks. So look, put it like this, right? Some of you guys were using like the balanced defense and stuff like that because it's free. Like if you want to go with one, EA kind of like, yo, here, take this, it's free. So you kind of know that the boost situation is all based on, you know, relativity. Like what do we think is actually happening? Because if EA is giving you something for free, you got to really question it every time. Because if you don't, you're falling for the trap. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm talking about, right? When you go over here to balance D, same thing for balance O. It's free. For the regular, just whatever, you know, if you just get the standard one, not times 2, you got to pay for that. Everything else is going to be 70 with times 2, but the balance D, they just letting you know, yeah, catch, yeah, it really matters. They're going to drop the pick anyway. EA is laughing at you while you're doing it. But when you go to lockdown, you see how quickly everything starts to add up to what really matters because you're paying for something that is different. So now because you're adding so much zone and man coverage and all that stuff, now you see the differences in it because you're actually paying for it. So with balanced defense, you can see like the initial things. Do these really matter? I don't know. You know, look, it takes 15 components to get man coverage, like just to start, because EA knows that it's only one they're giving you for free, and then if you want times 2, you got to pay 30. So it still takes you a while to get to that man coverage. It still takes you a while to get to that zone. So it kind of shows that, you know, when you utilize the training and you spend more, you're actually spending for something that actually means stuff. So the press, the zone, the catch, and all that stuff, I would think that it would help to make most of you guys see a difference in the way your players play on the field and actually, you know, do something for the squad. That's my opinion on it, and what I feel about lockdown. So a lot of it is like imaginary when it comes to the middle linebacker. Don't expect them to do anything. They will stand there and watch the QB draw and not react at all. But your corners and your safeties, which I have as corners, well, you know, I put in Rod Woodson, I got Denzel Ward, Dion, I got DRC as a specialist that I put him in there. So I play with 6 corners. The lockdown absolutely 100% helps these guys play at an entirely different level. 96, 94 zone, 96 press. So, and he gets beat up the press on a regular basis. Just to give you guys some insight, it's random. They will beat the press every now and again. Maybe it has something to do with being tired, you know, being out there all the time, whatever it is. But these are things that I believe will help you guys get to the next level as you build your team. Lockdown will definitely influence how well your players play, you know, man and zone coverage on the field. You actually can see it visibly as long as they meet those thresholds. Preferably, look for that 90. Anything 95 and above, your end game. I'm going to see you guys and girls next time. Enjoy your day. One love, y'all.